She was bleeding in a Seoul alley at midnight, and the most feared man in Korea stepped over her, then stopped. Nobody could explain what made Lee Mi-ho turn back. Not even him. Not yet. The rain in Seoul doesn't fall gently. It comes down like something that has been waiting all day to punish the city, heavy and cold and indifferent to whoever is standing in it. Mary was not standing. She was on the ground. Konggukdong Alley, 11:58 p.m. Behind a restaurant whose kitchen light was still on, beside a dumpster that smelled of fermented vegetables and grease. Her right cheek was against the wet concrete. She could feel the cold through her coat, through her dress, all the way into her teeth. She had been running. She had stopped running when her legs gave out. She was 29 years old, Ghanaian-born, raised between Accra and London, currently holding a bruised rib with one hand and a torn bag strap with the other. Her passport was in that bag. Her phone was dead. She had been in Seoul for 11 days on a humanitarian documentation contract and had made the specific mistake of photographing something she was not supposed to photograph. She didn't know whose men had chased her. She knew they had stopped at the alley entrance and not followed her in. That meant something about this alley. She didn't have the energy to figure out what. She heard footsteps. Expensive shoes, deliberate pace, not running, not cautious. The walk of a man who owns whatever ground he crosses. They stopped beside her. She looked up. The man was tall for a Korean man, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark suit that the rain was ruining without his apparent concern. His face was angular, unreadable, late 30s. His eyes were very still, the kind of stillness that isn't peace, but control. He looked at her the way someone looks at an equation they didn't expect to find. He said nothing for a long moment. Then, without looking away from her face, he said something in Korean over his shoulder. 2 men appeared from behind him. Mary tightened her grip on her bag. "Don't," she said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. The man looked at her. Something moved across his face. Not pity, not curiosity. Something quieter than both. "You're bleeding," he said in English. His accent was precise, clipped, like English was a tool he had sharpened but didn't love. "I noticed," she said. He crouched down to her level. A man like that, crouching in the rain, in that alley, at that hour. One of his men shifted uncomfortably. The other went very still. "Who did this?" Mary looked at him. "I don't know you." "No," he said, "but the men at the entrance of this alley do, and they left. So right now, that makes me the safest person in your immediate situation." She held his gaze. Her ribs screamed. "Can you stand?" he asked. She tried. She couldn't. He didn't say anything. He didn't call his men. He reached out himself, one hand, and she took it because there was no other option. And he pulled her up with an ease that told her more about him than anything else had. She stood. The rain came down. "Where are you taking me?" she asked. "Somewhere dry," he said, and walked. She followed. Not because she trusted him, because the alternative was the gutter. The safe house was 4 floors above a dry-cleaning business in Mapogu. Clean, sparse. The kind of place that had never been decorated because no one was meant to feel comfortable enough to stay. Mary sat on a wooden chair while a woman in scrubs, no introductions, no eye contact, wrapped her ribs and cleaned the gash above her eyebrow. She worked fast, professional. Gone in 6 minutes. Lee Mi-ho stood by the window with his back to the room. "Your camera," he said. "What did you photograph?" Mary said nothing. He turned. "The men who chased you work for Chairman Baek Sung-jin. He controls 3 of Seoul's eastern districts and 2 government contracts he shouldn't have. If his men stopped at my alley, it means they knew whose territory it was." He paused. "It also means they'll be back once they think I'm not watching." Mary looked at him steadily. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you need to understand your situation isn't over. And you're helping me because—" He was quiet for a moment. "You didn't flinch," he said. "In the alley. bleeding on the ground, you didn't flinch when I crouched." "I was calculating," she said. "I know," he said. "That's why." She opened her torn bag, pulled out a waterproof sleeve. Inside, her memory card was intact. She held it up. "I photographed a land transfer document," she said. "Fake signatures, displaced families, 40 of them. It connects Baek to your city's infrastructure minister." The room went very still. Lee Miho looked at the card, then at her. "You have no idea what you're holding," he said quietly. "I have every idea," Mary said. "That's why they were running after me." Something shifted in his eyes. Not danger, not calculation, recognition. She didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of the bed they had given her, still in her damp dress, memory card in her closed fist, listening to the building breathe. She had covered conflicts in 4 countries. She knew what dangerous men looked like when they were being kind for reasons. She also knew the difference between a man performing safety and one actually providing it. Lee Miho confused her. That was the problem. At 3 a.m., he knocked once and opened the door without waiting. He set a bowl of doenjang jjigae on the small table. Steam rose off it in the cold room. "I didn't ask for food," she said. "You haven't eaten." "You're watching me that closely?" "I run a building," he said. "I notice everything in it." She looked at the soup. Her stomach betrayed her loudly. He almost smiled. Almost. "I want to leave tomorrow," she said. "I need my passport renewed at the embassy, and I need to send this card to my editor in London. Beck's people will be watching the embassy. Then I'll find another way." "You'll find a body bag," he said flatly. "No cruelty, just fact." She stood up. "I don't know you. I don't know what you want from me or from this card. And I've learned the hard way that men who appear from nowhere with food and safe houses always want something." He looked at her for a long moment. "My mother was displaced," he said. 1998. Rural South Chungcheong. A land deal. She signed something she didn't understand and lost everything." Silence. "I built this organization on that anger," he said. "That card in your hand? I've been looking for what's on it for 6 years." Mary sat down slowly. The soup steamed between them. She stayed. Not because he convinced her. Because at 6 a.m. her editor called from London, landline, routed, and told her the story was bigger than they thought. 3 journalists across Asia had been building toward the same document for 2 years. 2 of them had gone silent in the last month. Gone silent was a journalist's way of saying gone. She told her editor she needed 72 hours. Lee Miho gave her a workspace, a desk, a secure laptop, 2 monitors. She didn't ask how he had these things. He didn't explain. They worked in parallel. She reconstructed the document trail. He provided context she couldn't have found alone. Names, district maps, the bureaucratic architecture of how Baek moved money through shell organizations. He knew things that weren't in any public record. "How?" she asked once, not looking up from her screen. "Because I move through the same shadows he does," Miho said. "I just move differently." "There's a difference between you?" "Yes." "Tell me." He set down his pen. "Baek takes from people who have nothing. I take from people who took first." She looked at him then. "That's a very clean story." "It's not a story," he said quietly. "It's a ledger." They ate dinner at the same table that night. His cook brought food without being asked. Mary noticed he always ensured she ate before he did, without drawing attention to it. Small things. She was trained to notice small things. At 10 p.m., she looked up from her laptop and found him watching her work. Not her work, with an expression she had seen only once before, in a professor who had watched her defend her dissertation and known before she finished that she would be exceptional. "What?" she said. "Nothing," he said, and looked away. She filed that away. On the second night, she found the photograph. It was tucked inside a folder on the corner of his desk. She reached for a pen and knocked it open. A single printed photo. A woman, small, worn-looking, standing in front of a rural house. Beside her, a boy of maybe 10, serious-faced, wearing a school uniform 2 sizes too big. She was looking at it when he walked in. She expected anger. He just sat down. "My mother," he said. "Taken 3 months before they lost the house." Mary set it down carefully. The uniform. "She saved for 4 months to buy it," he said. "She wanted me to look like I belonged somewhere." Silence. "She died before I built anything worth showing her," he said. It was not self-pity. It was a fact, delivered the way he delivered all facts, cleanly, without flinching. Mary was quiet for a moment. Then, "I came to Seoul because of a woman, too. Her name was Abina. She was Ghanaian, 34, worked for an NGO here. She found the same documents I photographed. She reported it through official channels." "What happened?" "She disappeared," Mary said. 8 months ago. They closed her case in 6 weeks." The room was very still. "She was my cousin," Mary said. Lee Miho looked at her, fully, the way he hadn't allowed himself to before. "You didn't come here for a contract," he said. "No," she said. "The contract was the cover. You came for Bayek. I came for the truth about Abena." He stood, crossed the room, and opened a locked drawer. He placed a file on the desk in front of her. Her hands stilled. On the tab, handwritten, "Abena Mensa." "I've been looking for someone with the courage to use it," he said. She didn't open the file immediately. She sat with her hands flat on it, breathing. He gave her that. He moved to the window and looked out at the city and let her have the silence she needed. When she opened it, he didn't watch. She read for 40 minutes. He made tea, not asking, just making, and set a cup beside her elbow when she was halfway through. She reached for it without looking up. That moment, that small, unremarkable moment, it cost him something, and he knew it. When she finished, she closed the file. "She was alive for 3 months after she disappeared," Mary said. "Yes." "And Beck's people?" "Yes." She nodded. "Once." The grief was there, but she pressed it down the way women who have survived loss learn to press things down, not gone, just stored, for later. "She would have liked you," Mary said. "Abena. She liked people who were exactly what they were." "And what am I?" he asked. Mary looked at him. "A man who has been carrying other people's justice for so long he forgot to put it down." Something crossed his face. He looked away. Later, she fell asleep at the desk. He didn't wake her. He took his jacket off and placed it over her shoulders and returned to the window. One of his men appeared at the door, checked the room, and said something quietly in Korean. Miho responded without turning around. The man nodded. Left. Miho stood at the window for a long time. Below, Seoul moved, loud, lit, indifferent. He had controlled pieces of this city for 15 years and never once felt what he felt standing in this quiet room. He didn't have a name for it yet. He was afraid that he did. It came from inside. One of Miho's lieutenants, a man named Sergeant Do, 12 years loyal, had been on Bayek's payroll for the last 8 months. Miho found out on the 3rd morning. A single intercepted message. 4 words in the message that mattered. The woman still here. Beek knew exactly where Mary was. Miho moved fast. He had Mary's things packed and a car ready in 11 minutes. He came to the workspace and said, "We have to go. Now." "What happened?" "Now, Mary." They were in the car before she had fully processed it. She held her bag against her chest, memory card inside, Abina's file folded into her coat lining. Then she saw his face. "Someone told them," she said. He said nothing. "Someone inside," she said. "Yes." "How long have you known?" "An hour." "And you didn't tell me immediately because I was handling it." That's not your decision, she said sharply. My life is not something you handle, Miho. I was keeping you safe. You were keeping me controlled, she said. That's what men like you do. You protect people by removing their ability to choose. The car was silent. I am not Bake, he said very quietly. I know that, she said, but I've been in this city before. I trusted the wrong structure. My cousin trusted the right people through the right channels, and she died in a basement. Her voice broke, just once, just slightly. So forgive me if I need to be the one who decides what keeping me safe looks like. He looked at her. His jaw was tight. You're right, he said. She turned to the window. 2 words. She hadn't expected 2 words. The city blurred past. They drove for 20 minutes without speaking. The car stopped at a second location, a smaller building. No staff, just 2 guards. Outside who nodded and disappeared. Mary got out. He followed. Inside, she set her bag down and stood in the center of the empty room. I'm going to the embassy tomorrow, she said, with or without your help. I know. I'm sending the file and the card to 3 journalists simultaneously. London, Seoul, Nairobi. If anything happens to me, it all publishes automatically. I know that, too. She turned. Then why are you still here? He was quiet for a long moment. Then he crossed the room and stopped 2 feet from her. Because I've spent 15 years building walls around everything that mattered to me, he said. And you walked into my alley bleeding and told me not to flinch, and I haven't been able to rebuild a single wall since. The room was very still. I'm not a safe person to know, he said. My life is not structured for... He stopped. I don't know how to say this without it sounding like something I've calculated. Then don't calculate it, she said. He looked at her. I don't want you to leave. Silence. That's not a plan, she said softly. That's not strategy. That's just... Yes, he said. That's all it is. She looked at him for a long time. The man from the alley. The boy in the oversized uniform, the person who had kept Abina's file for 8 months waiting for someone with courage. Ask me properly, she said. He exhaled. Then Lee Miho, the most feared man in Seoul, looked at her and said simply, Stay. Not for the story. For this. She didn't answer immediately, but she didn't reach for her bag. The story broke on a Thursday. 3 outlets, simultaneous. London. Seoul, Nairobi, the land documents, BIEX payment records, the displaced families, the government minister, and, the piece that cracked everything open, the documented evidence of Abina Mensah's fate, sourced, verified, immune to legal pressure. Baek Sung-jin was arrested by Friday morning. The infrastructure minister resigned before noon. Mary was in the embassy when the news broke, seated across from a consular officer who kept glancing at his phone with an expression of controlled alarm. She signed her documentation with the same stillness she'd used in Miho's alley. She stepped outside into Seoul's cold morning air. Miho was leaning against a black car across the street. No guards, no performance. Just him, hands in pockets, watching her come down the steps. She crossed the street. It worked, she said. I know, I watched the feed. Back. Arrested, I know. She stopped in front of him. You could have taken credit, given that file to your own contacts months ago, made it your win. It wasn't mine to win, he said. She looked at him. Abina would have liked that answer. His jaw moved slightly. I'm sorry I didn't find her in time. Mary nodded. She pressed her hand briefly to his chest, just once, just enough, and he went very still. You found me, she said quietly. He looked down at her hand, then up at her face. What now? He asked. Now? She almost smiled. You take me somewhere with actual food. You tell me who you really are beneath all of this, and we figure out the rest slowly. He was quiet for a moment. I've never done anything slowly, he said. I know, she said. That's why I'm staying. He opened the car door. She got in. Seoul moved around them, loud and lit and indifferent, but inside that car, something had shifted permanently, the way things shift when two people who were never supposed to find each other do, and both of them know it, and neither of them looks away. Drop a comment. Was it the alley, the file, or the moment he said, "Stay," that got you? Subscribe. The next story hits different.